Germany for 8 years, and I still do not understand the AC situation here. It is 100 degrees today, and nowhere has AC still. Restaurants, nope. Hospitals, nope. Shops, nope. What will it take to get ACs?
Just a reminder, more Europeans die every year from heat-related illness than Americans do from gun violence. That's a real fact. You can look it up. So don't let any of these Europeans tell you that they can't install AC in their buildings, right? They've installed plumbing before, they've installed electricity, they can install air conditioning, but their ignorance doesn't let them. And so they have more people that die from heat than gun violence. Make it make sense.
One thing the World Cup has taught me is that Americans might be onto something with this air conditioning stuff. Because growing up in Britain, we always treated air conditioning like a luxury. You'd hear things like, oh, you don't need all that, just open a window. And up to a point, that was reasonable advice, until climate change reached its super cyan form. Now, every time I turn on the news, it's day 3 of the unprecedented heat wave, aka summer. And then we spend the next week melting in our homes, moaning it's too hot. I have to say, after experiencing air conditioning in Miami, I get it. I'm not asking for the world. Sometimes progress is just being able to sleep at night.
This is a public service announcement that the heat wave in Paris is really bad. If you haven't seen, it's been, I want to say like minimum 5 days where it's been hot as hell. There's no AC anywhere except like really big buildings like department stores. And even if you try to go to a coffee shop to like escape the heat, you can't. There's no AC there either. The metro doesn't have AC. Like it's 7 p.m. right now. It's 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees Celsius. It's impossible to breathe. People are still not wearing deodorant, which is a problem. Today is supposed to be the hottest day, tomorrow as well, and then it's supposed to cool down by 1 or 2 degrees.
Yo, listen, a lot of the things that we take for granted here in the U.S., and not just the U.S. in a lot of places, but here in the U.S. because that's where I live, and I travel to a lot of places, a lot of the things that we take for granted is things that people look at as a luxury. This World Cup and people coming here and visiting and having conversations about the things that they observed and what they're not used to and the options that's available, and even as simple as air conditioning, is now becoming a major talking point across all forms of social media, because when you're exposed to different now, you start to look at things differently. And the fact that more people are dying or have been dying from heat exhaustion in Europe, in Paris, and these places that are supposed to be modern cities is mind-blowing to me, because y'all want to move there so bad. I don't think that people know how blessed they are to live in the U.S., but these people are revealing it to you, and they're showing you that everything that you think that is a problem is really something that's a lifestyle choice. It's not something that you should expect. It's something that you are blessed with, and we're living in modern times and modern opportunities and with all of these choices, and because you then make bad lifestyle choices, you think that the world is bad or America is bad. No, America has just been promoted from within and outside as bad, but people that are from other places or that visit other places know that everything that glitters ain't gold.
But this is going to be going on for like 10 days. Apparently people have died. It's really, really bad. There's no stock whatsoever in all of Paris of AC units, like the little detachable ones that you can like roll around your house that you need like a tube for, the tube that like hangs out the window. No stock of AC units. There's a line outside of the Dyson store. I heard every day for people waiting for restocks. Hotter in France this week than it is in 98% of the rest of the world or something like that. So it's crazy. So if you have friends in Paris.
And people that are not wearing deodorant is diabolical.
Send them ice because they need it.
As you may know, Europe is now going through a heat wave. Temperatures are reaching way above 100 degrees. It is literally unbearable. Thousands of people have already died, especially the elderly. And the other day I called my grandmother, who lives in Czechia, my birth country, and I told her how is she putting up with it and what is she doing to make herself colder. And I suggested, why don't you get air conditioning? She goes, oh no, I would never do that. I would rather die of heat than install air conditioning in my home. And I go, well, that's a very irrational belief. And she's not the only one. Most people in Czech, especially the older generation, have very negative stance towards air conditioning.
People have been trained not only in the US, but in other countries, of what should be normalized. I even had to question my beliefs, which obviously you guys know if you've been following me for any period of time, you know that I have switched over from being Democrat to Republican. And even though I know that there are some things that need to be changed on the Republican side, because just because I am a Republican does not believe that I believe every single thing that happens on this side to be true. But the fact of the matter is that we've been conditioned and we've been trained to believe something because we don't even do our own research. So people there in Europe think air conditioning is bad. They would rather die than get air conditioning.
And unnatural ventilation. And this traces back to humoral medicine or folk medicine from like the 18th, 17th centuries in Europe, where uncontrolled wind was said to contribute to hardship for the body, and it was hard for the body to regulate the temperature, and it would get the body out of equilibrium. And so the remedy was stay inside, don't get exposed to natural elements like wind, and you'll get better. And so this sort of inherited belief has carried on for centuries, despite science moving on and obviously proving this inherited belief wrong. It's still part of the culture, and you can't just remove it from the culture, right? It has been practiced for centuries, and so a lot of the older generation now in Central Eastern Europe is very much against air conditioning and will never have it, including just a standalone fan, and would rather die from heat. I have to say, with the changing temperatures, as you know, Europe is getting hotter, summers are getting hotter and more unbearable. It didn't used to be that way 50 years ago. The temperatures would never go above 100 degrees. But now, as it's getting hotter, younger generations are realizing that air conditioning is a necessity, and so they are integrating it in their homes, and it is becoming more of a thing.
I really never understood why some Europeans refuse to get air conditioning in their houses. Like, I just never thought it was that big of a deal. Like, if it's hot out, just get air conditioning. That's until I stayed at my friend's house in Spain.
Most people don't understand what social conditioning is and how it changes the mind and your view towards life. We're social conditioned over here in a lot of ways that's different than the air conditioning. And so we'll criticize them and say, well, oh man, I can't believe that they're thinking like this. And then people come over here and say, oh man, I can't believe that they're thinking like that. And it really, all of it is just social conditioning.
I found out why at least some Europeans refuse to get air conditioning. See, I had this layover in Barcelona that I could extend, and my friend that just so happens to live in Barcelona graciously offered that I could stay at his place if I extended my layover. So I did. Anyways, upon arrival at his house, it is like 85 degrees outside. So I go into his house, and I quickly realize that it is also 85 degrees inside. So after a little bit of kibitzing and catching up with my friend, I ask him, hey dude, do you have AC? He goes on to be like, oh, we don't do that here. We don't need AC. It doesn't get that hot. But I was just like, okay, man, I guess you don't, but it feels like an oven in here to me. He goes on to be like, in America, it's so much hotter. We don't need it here. It's cooler here. And I was just like, no, like maybe in certain parts of the US, but last time I checked, it's a lot hotter here than back home. He goes, no, I checked. I checked Boston, New York, Philly. It's like 70 degrees. It's hotter. And I'm just like, yeah, 70 degrees. Like, that's a lot cooler. And he just looks at me like I'm dumb. Then I think, oh, he probably thinks it's in Celsius, not in Fahrenheit. So I'm like, oh, it's in Fahrenheit, not Celsius. So it's like a lot higher than Celsius. And he's like, no, I know. He goes on to be like, oh, it's not that much of a difference. Like 70 degrees Fahrenheit is like 65 Celsius. He's like, this is why you guys need the AC. It's much hotter. Mind you, he has never been to the US, and I'm like always trying to invite him here and give him a reason to come. And he's just like, no, dude, I can't come there. It's just way too hot. And I always just thought that it was a lame excuse he was giving me, and he like didn't want to go to the US for some other reason. But no, he actually thinks that it's just way too hot here. He thinks the US is like a Mad Max environment. I just did the conversion, and 65 degrees Celsius is 149 degrees Fahrenheit. So either he thinks that I live in some sort of hellscape, or he's just really bad at math and science. Either way, I think that this is the reason why he thinks the Americans need the air conditioning and he doesn't. Are there other Europeans like this? Like, do some of y'all just think the US is some Mad Max hellscape?
Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off of life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.